Hello everybody, and welcome back to Certified Collectibles. You know, one of the questions we get asked a lot from novice collectors and experienced collectors alike is there still some original comic book art on the market that we can add to our collection at an affordable price? You know, if you've been collecting comic book art for the last 20 years or so, you know that within the last 5 years, the prices for original comic art just skyrocketed. And even for modern comic art, you know, some of that stuff is just unattainable for beginning collectors. But there's some good news. There is a category of comic book art collecting that is still very undervalued and underappreciated, and a lot of these covers you could pick up for under $100 or around $100. So this is very, very affordable to add to your collection. What I'm talking about are these production proofs, or printer's proofs as they're also known. These are actually produced from the original art at the time period that the comic was produced. So these are not reprints, modern reprints, or anything like that. This book here, The Perfect Crime, this is the cover artwork that was produced in the 1950s. And what these printer's proofs are is, you know, if you can remember a time before computers, the actual artwork was pasted down on a board, both from the artist, and illustrator, and the guys that did all the lettering, and the title board as well. All that was actually pasted down on a board. It was actually shot by a film camera. The film was developed, and it's from those negatives that they actually produced these prints. Now, these prints were actually then sent to back to the editor for final approval, and if he signed off on it, then these covers were actually produced the way you see them. So these are actually printer's proofs. Let me put on some latex gloves because these are from the 50s, and we actually have some here from the 60s and 70s also that we're going to show you, but you don't want to touch these too much with your fingers. Oil from your fingers will affect the inks on these. These are, like I said, 50, 60, 70 years old. So these were actually printer's proofs. So they're printed on very thin paper, but these were the original covers from the original art produced at the time period. So these are all time specific. So these are the 1950s. We have some more of these crime covers here that we're going to show you. All these covers, all the crime covers, probably cost us $100, $150 a cover. So very, very affordable to add to your collection. Here you go. Here is another one. And, you know, the crime comics and the horror comics, these were specific to that generation, to that general era of the golden age of comics. So these are just super cool. You know, the reason we purchased these was not for investment or even to add to our collection, but we were going to frame these and actually probably hang them up on this wall behind you. So we just wanted some original art from the time period. Now, these aren't, of course, hand-drawn. These are the prints from the hand-drawn art, but this is as close you're going to get, around $100. Otherwise, you're going to be spending $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 for the original just line art of these. Because these were also colored during the production process. These weren't always colored at the time that they were produced. Here we have another one from The Perfect Crime, 1950s. These crime covers are fantastic. You know, the crime covers and the horror covers and the sci-fi covers from the 50s, it was just a wonderful time for illustration. You just don't have that anymore. The art today is great also, but just takes you back to a certain era in America. Of course, war-related covers. Like I said, very thin. So when you frame these out, a lot of them are trimmed to actual size. As you can see, there's no white bordering around this, and there's no color registration marks. So if they're trimmed to actual size like this, when you frame them, if you do choose to frame anything like this, you just get them shadow board framed so that it actually protects the art itself. Because these are original pieces from the 50s, so you don't want to damage them. You don't want them to paste them down. You can canvas back them. That's not going to affect their value. But you definitely want to shadow box these if you do get them framed. Now, some of them do have registration borders around them that have the color registration. That came about in the 60s, you know, around the early 60s. We do have some here from the 60s as well to show you. This was our crime group. Now we have a little bit of a horror group here. Now this is from Airy Magazine. These were from the 60s. Airy Magazine, tremendously popular, tremendously collectible. The artwork for these also was going to run you thousands and thousands of dollars. These covers probably cost us, you know, under $200 a cover. But, you know, incredibly classic horror covers that you can add to your collection for nothing. And if you get these framed, this one was trimmed on the bottom, so it's going to be a little tricky to frame this one. So this one we might not be able to frame, but as you can see, it has the registration border around it, so a little bit easier to frame with those. Ah, here you go. Sci-Fi horror cover. And as you can see, this is another Airy cover. Airy magazine. It has the registration borders all the way around it. This is going to be very easy to frame. It's going to look incredibly nice in a frame. But here you go, some aliens coming to invade Earth, of course, as they always did back in the 60s. So those are the ones from the 60s. You saw 50s and 60s covers here. And today we're just giving you an example of what you can collect for under $200. Like I said, most of these are going to cost around $100, $150, $200. You know, some of them under $100 you can easily acquire for your collection. Here you go. Now we have some from the 70s. This is 1976, Vampirella. Once again, this during the time where they were kind of transitioning, still horror covers, but they're getting a little bit more into the modern storytelling. Here's zombie corpses, of course. Zombie corpses and Vampirella go hand in hand. Here is from the holiday special, Giant. And as you can see on some of these, you can see the title on the left here. Now this is actually the title of the comic when these covers are folded. Of course, there's a back cover to these. This is actually going to be the spine of the book, so you can see they actually put the title on the spine here as well, and the date. Vampirella, this is from the holiday special. And our last cover that we're going to show you guys, like I said, this is just an example of what you can actually still add to your collection very affordably, is a nice sci-fi cover. I think this is from '78. So Vampirella, of course, getting attacked, captured here by some aliens that also seem to be attacking Earth continuously back in the 60s and 70s. So those are printer's proofs from the time period, 50s, 60s, and 70s, that you can still add to your collection very, very affordably. So if you don't think there's some original art from the time period out there, you know, just take a look for the printer's proofs. Might be something to consider adding to your collection. Now, if you like what you saw in today's video, please give us a thumbs up. Let us know if you guys actually are collecting any of the printer's proofs. We'd love to hear if you guys already started collecting these or if you have any in your collection. Some of these are very, very tough to come by, especially some of the superhero stuff. So if you like this video and you'd like to see more of these, please remember to subscribe to the channel. And as always, thank you for joining us here at Certified Collectibles, and we'll see you again next time.